We're trying to remove these concrete steps here. These steps are all a different height, and what we're trying to do here is just pick them up with the tractor, rip out these old ones, and then dig it out and put in some nice wooden steps instead of this concrete one. So we're just using the 48 Ford 8N. Actually, man, maybe it's a 49. I think it's a 49. Ford 8N with the Freeman loader on the front, and it has a trip bucket. So this is definitely an old machine, but it's still pretty neat, and I enjoy getting these old pieces of equipment. I enjoy using them. So we just stuck a block, a 4x4 underneath this, and the 8N supposedly can lift about 1,000 pounds in the bucket. Obviously that's probably when new, so once you get 70 years worth of use onto this thing, it'll probably lift up less. So the 8N was not able to pick up this entire thing, but it would move it some, and it would lift up an end of it. So we're just trying to drag it up out of its hole. I think these steps here were poured concrete, and someone had built forms and stuff and poured it. I do not think these were the steps that you can buy at, I don't know, a block plant or something. Someplace, maybe even Lowe's and Home Depot have them that are pre-formed and everything. But I definitely think these were poured in place, and they were also solid, so they're not really hollow. So these steps are quite heavy. If I had to guess, I would say these steps weigh about 1,000 pounds, maybe more, maybe 1,200. But they are more than what the 8N can easily pick up. You know, we have maxed out what the loader can pick up. Now, anyone that doesn't know this little trick, what I did there was I hooked the chain further back onto the loader. So that gives it more lifting power, but it's closer to the tractor, and that's just a downside of doing that. But it gives you a lot more power to lift up heavier objects when you bring them closer to the machine. It's just like holding a 20-pound weight straight out from your body with your arm versus pulling that 20-pound weight in. It's a lot easier when it's pulled in close to you to lift it. So now we're just kind of figuring out what to do here on how to move this thing. We are taking the chain off, and what we're going to use to move this is the pickup truck crane, the Jeep trailer, and the Sears Suburban. So we're just kind of straightening out the driveway also, keep holes and stuff filled in. And the 8N works quite well for doing this. Smoothing the gravel out. I think it's not perfect, but it works pretty good. So now we're just moving. This was the top stone. We actually found this stone whenever we actually put in a French drain. Also, I didn't film any of that, but we're just kind of loading this stone into the trailer, and then we're going to load up those steps. But who knows, this stone alone, I bet it weighed, oh, I don't know, maybe 200 and 300 pounds, something like that. But the pickup truck crane worked quite well. We've moved a lot of stuff with this thing, and
all right,
we have pretty much bent I think all but one pin, all but 2 pins in this thing. So we've really really pushed this crane beyond what it was meant for, and we're lifting this stone on the 500-pound setting. But I mean, it works pretty good, and it is a lifesaver and a back saver. You know, anytime I can save my back from lifting a really heavy load, we're gonna use it, whether it be a piece of equipment, leverage, a shovel, the crane, the backhoe, you name it. We're gonna use it, and I'd rather just put the machine in front of it. So I just fired up the Sears Suburban, and I'm just kind of bringing it into the area where we're going to load the stone at. This is actually the concrete. And we had a few issues loading this. So this is on the 500-pound setting, and I should have known better to lift this thing on the, I think it's the 700-pound setting, or maybe even 800. I don't exactly remember, but we ended up not lifting it with the winch. I think this was the absolute heaviest thing I have ever picked up with this pickup truck crane, and you can see it picking up the side of the trailer there. So this is where my 155 pounds will come in handy. I'm just kind of using my own weight to help pick up the concrete pad here, or the concrete steps, and that didn't work. So we decided to put this crane on the, I think it was a 700-pound setting, and we also moved the chain to lift it in the middle. I had a suspicion the winch was not going to be able to pick this set of steps up. So we ended up lowering the crane down and using the winch to lift it as much as it could. And then we finished it off the rest of the way with the bottle jack on the arm itself, and that worked pretty good. We didn't have any problems after that. It was just it's slow when you use that. I'd much rather use the electric winch. But the bottle jack worked pretty good. And definitely when you're lifting something like this, oh my gosh, be super careful. This thing is incredibly heavy. And you definitely do not want this to fall on anyone or anything that's of any value, or pets, animals, you know, you name it. You got to be careful doing stuff like this, because this is a huge wrecking ball, and it doesn't matter where it goes. Gravity rules. So we just ended up loading this thing into the trailer, and I will tell you what, between those two stones, I would estimate, and the stones were probably at least 1,000 pounds. That's probably pretty conservatively estimating it. I think they're both maybe around 1,200 total, and the trailer alone is about 800 pounds, 850, something like that. So roughly I was pulling about 2,000 pounds with this Sears Suburban. This is a 73 or 74 SS16 twin with a 16 horsepower Onan opposed twin motor, and it seemed to work pretty good, although I will say I started out in third gear. Taking this back to our place, and I will tell you what, starting out in third gear, pulling about 2,000 pounds, it was pretty much everything that motor could do to pull all this to get it started. And then once it got it started, it was okay. But oh man, this trailer was incredibly heavy. So you definitely have to be smart with pulling that much weight and stuff. The front tires were pretty light on it. So now what we're doing is we're doing some excavating or hand digging here for the runners, because we're, like I said, we're putting in the wooden steps instead of the concrete. The problem with concrete and stone steps, if you do not have a super good thick base of stone, the likelihood of these sinking is pretty high over the years, and it's just not something that's really going to hold up for as long as we want it to. We ended up putting the wood steps in, and those ones I think will be just fine. They won't be any problems whatsoever. Our front steps on the house here have sunk also. They've probably sunk about probably a good 3 inches, and the wooden steps are just fine. So I'm for building wood steps. They've improved the pressure treating and stuff on them to make them last longer, as far as I can tell. And they should last a very, very long time. So we're just using the 8N here to shovel the extra dirt into, and it worked pretty good. It's nice having a tractor with a bucket on it just to kind of hand throw dirt into it. I wanted to use the backhoe whenever we were doing this. However, we need 2 new cylinders on it, and it leaks fluid everywhere, so we've kind of stopped using that tractor for now, and we're going to get 2 new cylinders here pretty soon. And I think that's going to be, was it like 300? At least 300, 350? Probably 350 at least by the time we're done. So that's just kind of one of those things, I guess. Actually, this tractor here needs 2 new cylinders also. They leak not as bad, but I don't know exactly where we'd find cylinders for this one, and I'm sure they'd be pretty expensive. But anyways, we're just doing lots of hand digging here, and I think we had 3 or 4 bucketfuls of dirt to dispose of. And actually, we will have to bring some of that dirt back to do some filling in the end when the steps are built. It's just kind of one of those things, I guess, but I'm really glad we are fixing up these stairs. They are the new ones, which you'll see hopefully in the next video. Those ones will be much, much, much better, and they should be all even also. And now we're just getting ready to dig the post to put this last post in. We actually fit the backhoe in here on this concrete pad whenever we were doing that French drain. And the backhoe barely fit. We had to remove this post to squeeze the backhoe in there. But it's just one of those things, and now we're putting this post back in and kind of finishing up this project. So we did a lot of hand digging here, and I wish we could have used the backhoe, and I also wish we had a 3-point post hole digger. We've been looking at buying some online and whatnot, but they're kind of expensive, and it's just kind of one of those things. But you know, it's not something we'd use every day, but boy, when we need it, it would come in really handy. So we're using what is this, a spud bar? I'm not entirely sure exactly what it's called, but it weighs like 17 pounds. And hope everyone enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more, and hopefully we will see you in part 2 where we build the wood stairs.